From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the longer video version of a story we covered earlier today. Trump again threatens widespread destruction in Iran if a deal is not reached shortly. U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday threatened widespread destruction of Iran's energy resources and other vital infrastructure, potentially including desalination plants that supply drinking water, if a deal to end the war is not reached shortly. Iran, meanwhile, struck a key water and electrical plant in Kuwait, and an oil refinery in Israel came under attack. Israel and the U.S. launched a new wave of strikes on Iran as the war raged with no end in sight. Trump's new threat came in a social media post earlier. Comments to the Financial Times suggested American troops could seize Iran's Karg Island oil export hub. Trump has repeatedly claimed to be making diplomatic progress, though Tehran denies negotiating directly, while ramping up his threats and sending thousands more troops to the Middle East. Trump told the New York Post that the U.S. is negotiating with Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, the former Revolutionary Guard commander, who has taunted the U.S. on social media, dismissed the talks facilitated by Pakistan as a cover for the latest American troop deployments. Trump, meanwhile, says that diplomacy is going well, even though he has threatened major escalation. In a social media post, Trump said, "Great progress is being made in talks with Iran to end military operations," but he said if a deal is not reached shortly, whatever that means, and if the Strait of Hormuz is not immediately reopened, the U.S. would broaden its offensive by completely obliterating power plants, oil wells, Karg Island, and possibly even desalination plants. The strait is a crucial waterway through which a fifth of the world's oil is shipped in peacetime. The laws of armed conflict allow attacks on civilian infrastructure, such as energy plants, only if the military advantage outweighs the civilian harm, legal scholars say. It's considered a high bar to clear, and causing excessive suffering to civilians can constitute a war crime. A 22-year-old resident of Karaj, near Tehran, said his area lost power for several hours overnight following nearby strikes. "I was really scared. I thought they'd hit the power plants and that we are not going to have power anymore," he said, speaking on condition of anonymity out of security fears. So Iran says U.S. demands are, quote, excessive, unrealistic, and irrational, end quote. The U.S. has already targeted military positions on Karg. Iran has threatened to launch its own ground invasion of Gulf Arab countries and to mine the Persian Gulf if U.S. troops set foot on its territory. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Esmail Baghai said Tehran has received a 15-point proposal from the Trump administration containing excessive, unrealistic, and irrational demands while denying there had been any direct talks. Ghalibaf, the parliament speaker Trump says he is negotiating with, said Iranian forces were waiting for the arrival of American troops on the ground to set them on fire and punish their regional partners forever, according to state media. Twice during Trump's second term, the U.S. has attacked Iran during high-level diplomatic talks, including with the February 28th strikes that started the current war. So Iran has attacked Israel and Gulf infrastructure projects. Sirens sounded at dawn near Israel's main nuclear research center, a part of the country that has been targeted repeatedly in recent days. Israel's military also said it had taken out 2 drones launched from Yemen, where the Iran-backed Houthi rebels entered into the war on Saturday with their first missile attack. Iran kept up the pressure on its Gulf Arab neighbors. Saudi Arabia intercepted 5 missiles targeting its oil-rich eastern province. A fireball erupted over Dubai, United Arab Emirates, as a missile was intercepted. And in Kuwait, an Iranian attack hit a power and desalination plant, killing 1 worker and wounding 10 soldiers, the state-run KUNA news agency reported. An Emirati official signaled that the UAE wants more than just a ceasefire. An Iranian regime that launches ballistic missiles at homes, weaponizes global trade, and supports proxies is no longer an acceptable feature of the regional landscape. Noura Al-Kabi, a minister of state at the UAE's foreign ministry, wrote in a column published by the state-linked English-language newspaper, The National. She added, "We want a guarantee that this will never happen again." NATO air defenses intercepted a ballistic missile over Turkey that was fired from Iran, Turkey's defense ministry said. In the fourth such incident since the start of the war, Iran has denied firing the previous missiles. Turkey is taking part in mediation efforts. Israel, meanwhile, launched a new wave of attacks on Iran, saying it was striking military infrastructure across Tehran. Explosions were heard in the Iranian capital, and Iranian state media reported that a petrochemicals plant in Tabriz in the north sustained damage in an airstrike. So, peacekeepers have been killed in Lebanon, where Israel is battling Hezbollah. The United Nations Security Council planned to convene an emergency session Tuesday after officials announced that 3 peacekeepers in southern Lebanon had been killed in less than 24 hours. The meeting was scheduled after a request from France. The UN peacekeeping mission in the region, where Israel is battling the Iran-backed Hezbollah, did not say who was responsible for the deaths overnight and into Monday. 2 of the peacekeepers were killed when an explosion of unknown origin destroyed their vehicle. And a third was killed earlier when a base for the peacekeeping mission, known as UNIFIL, was hit by a projectile. All 3 peacekeepers were from the Indonesian army, UN officials said. An Israeli airstrike on a Beirut suburb killed 1 person and wounded 17, including 4 children, according to Lebanon's health ministry. Over the weekend, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the military would widen its invasion, expanding the existing security grip in southern Lebanon. In Iran, authorities say more than 1,900 people have been killed, while 19 have been reported dead in Israel. 24 people have been killed in Gulf states and the occupied West Bank. In Lebanon, officials said more than 1,200 people have been killed and more than 1 million have been displaced. 6 Israeli soldiers have died in Lebanon, while 13 U.S. service members have been killed in the war overall. And as a result of all of the missiles and the drones and the back and forth escalating tensions between the countries, oil prices have risen again as concerns of global energy crisis continues to grow. Iran's attack on the energy infrastructure of the region and its stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz have threatened global supplies of oil, natural gas, and fertilizer. They have sent fuel prices skyrocketing and given rise to growing concerns about an energy crisis. Trump has said that Iran agreed to allow 20 oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz starting Monday as a sign of respect. There was no information on whether those ships were actually moving. Brent crude oil, the international standard, was trading around $115 on Monday, up nearly 60% from when the war started. This concludes the report from the Associated Press about Trump's threat to obliterate Iran. The story was written by John Gambrell, Josh Boak, and Mike Corder, all of whom are AP News writers. PEP Radio will continue to run these special report long videos to provide as much reliable information as we possibly can. From the PEP Radio Newsroom, I'm David Moore.